to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got Dolphins, the greatest football.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Good evening, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Tuesday, December the 3rd. I'm your host, Michael Leva, joined by Josh Moser of WSVN, South Florida's #1 news station. Josh, how was your Thanksgiving? How you doing?
Man, Thanksgiving was awesome. Weird not to have a Dolphins game on a Sunday. Obviously, it was a little tough Thursday night, kind of watching what took place in Green Bay, especially living up there for the better part of 5 years. But I hate to say it, the Dolphins did exactly what we all expected. And
same old Dolphins.
You know, yeah, it's got to win them all now, and then for a chance to get them, we'll see what happens. I believe currently it's a 9% chance to make the playoffs, but if you win all 5, it's a 91% chance. So that tells me you can still win all 5 and not get in. So
that would be such a Miami Dolphins thing to do. Actually win all 5 and still not get in. We've seen that before for some of us longtime fans, where we've been in situations where, you know, usually most years 10 wins get you in. We win 10, we don't get in. There's been years where it's been the past 20, 25 years. It's been misery. Last Thursday night was more of it. And we're going to talk about all that stuff on today's show. But first, a quick word from our sponsor.
The DolphinsTalk.com podcast network is sponsored by Caneswear. Caneswear is the place to go for officially licensed apparel for the Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, the Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, and all of the professional and college teams in South Florida. Looking for the latest jersey, a birthday gift, or the newest hat to hit the market of your favorite South Florida team? Check out Caneswear for their overwhelming selection of sports apparel. Located at 2655 South University Drive, Davie, Florida, Caneswear has it all. Not in South Florida? No worries. Visit Caneswear.com to shop their inventory from the comfort of your home, and they'll ship it to you. International fans, too. Caneswear.com is the spot that Miami fans shop. That's Caneswear.com. Caneswear.com.
All right, let's get into it. First, before I start, though, just want to say there's a few more days to enter. If you sign up for our Patreon service, you can win a Mercury Morris autographed jersey. Hold on, I always forget to hold it up. Grab it. Here it is.
Yeah.
Inscription 17-0 on the bottom. Go to patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. $3 a month. Sign up, and you can have a chance to win this. I'm drawing it Friday evening. We'll pick the winner live. So go to patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. Okay. Packers, Dolphins, my quick thoughts are, it's not that they necessarily lost. There's no shame in going to Lambeau and losing. It's once again how they lost. That game was non-competitive in the first half. That game was over in the first half. I can't take too much of what happened in the second half seriously because Miami was never a threat down 24-3. The Packers took their foot off the gas a little, and they let Miami get some yards and touch. But if that game got close, and it really never got closer to 16 until the very end, they would just put their foot on the gas and just started running them over them again. And it just goes to show Miami can't be good teams and Miami can't win in the cold. And, you know, they're not going to kill that narrative with, I think, how this team is built, unfortunately. What are your thoughts on the game and just everything else overall?
I mean, just the Washington fumble in the beginning. I mean, that just puts you so far behind the 8 ball. In games against good teams, you can't afford to make mistakes like that. And look, you want to look at the numbers. Tua played well. I mean, it's hard to argue against it. However, my concern, Mike, is I don't understand how this offense cannot produce explosive plays when that was their bread and butter last year. It's simply not that the defense is playing two shell all of the time. Like, that's just not it. Like, there's still opportunities for explosive plays. Now, I know that Chris Grier is going to say, we love our offensive line. But to me, it's simply that they do not trust the offensive line because it takes time for a receiver to get down the field. And now this offense has been get the ball out really quickly. So, look, from an offensive perspective, you did okay. The fumble basically gave up 7 points. And I'm so worried. We talked about this. This team can't play from behind with this style of offense. You need to be able to have a quick strike offense to get back in a game. And defensively, I really don't know where to begin other than the fact of not having Fuller as a corner is a huge, huge loss for this team. This was really the first game I felt like Zach Steeler was contained. Calais Campbell didn't do much. They weren't really generating anything off the edge either. It's great that Bradley Chubb's practice window was opened up, same with Cam Good, but I don't know how good that they're going to be. And even if they're going to play this week, probably not. But this team on all levels defensively really struggled. I believe it was 20 missed tackles. You simply just can't beat a good team when you miss that many tackles, no matter how good your offense is playing. It's just frustrating. It's, once again, everything is right there in front of you. You want this team to play well, and then they just don't execute once again. And Tyreek Hill is frankly nowhere to be found at this point.
Yeah, the loss of Anthony Walker, which who would have thought that was sorely missed on that side of the ball because they don't have another guy to step in at middle linebacker to even play as good as, again, Anthony Walker, who's a nice player, don't get me wrong, but when you can't replace him, that's a sign that you have issues with your roster. In the secondary, like you said, at corner, now Cam Smith is going to be out. Not that he's a big loss, but when you're short bodies, Cater Kohu's injured, Kendall Fuller's coming back, it's a revolving door of guys coming and going. On the offensive line, again, in the second half, when they're down 16, you get the ball down to the goal line. They don't have confidence to run the ball because it probably wouldn't have worked. Aaron Brewer, once again, the issues, the word soft is always thrown around, and that's a whole other conversation. The issue is how the roster was built, in that you have an undersized center who's good. Don't get me wrong. He's playing very well this year, Aaron Brewer. But when you have two lackluster guards next to him, you don't have the confidence to run it up the middle at the goal line because your center is giving up a lot of weight. It's just, there's so many issues with this team right now. And yes, a lot of it, in my opinion, goes back to the head coach. That game, as you said with Hill, he's nowhere to be found. And we've seen this in previous years with Mike McDaniel, where when the opponents take something away, he cannot adjust in season almost on the fly. So there's been other years where the first 6-8 weeks, Miami's offense is flying high, teams adjust, he doesn't have a counter move. This year, he came out with a counter move in this, run the ball, long drives, short passing game, but he can't dial up the big plays, which you paid all this money to Hill and Waddle for. It's like, it takes him, I got to get to the offseason and think. He can't do it week to week almost, which is a problem. And plus, just are never ready for these big games. Again, no shame in losing at Lambeau, but they were not competitive in the first half. And there's a fumble, and there's this. Special teams had 3 mistakes in the first half. He still keeps a special teams coach where there's no accountability. A lot of the issues goes back to how the team was built, which is the oldest team in the league, and at times it really looks it. And your head coach just inability to adjust sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean, look, Mike McDaniel can get there at 2 a.m. and, whatever schedule works best for him. He can grind all the tape that he wants, but this is results-based business. We knew that there was one game that this team could afford to lose and try to make the playoffs, and they burned it right away. And simply, I think there's legitimate worry. I would not be surprised if the Jets came in here and were competitive. I mean, this
I kind of expect it. We're going to talk about why, too. I have reasons why.
Yeah, but it's just this team continually shoots themselves in the foot. And when that happens in an organization, you've got to look within yourself. Now, I saw some reports came out that Mike McDaniel's maybe losing the locker room and that certain players are out partying all of the time.
I think that's BS. I think that's someone on social media making stuff up. Yeah,
I was going to say, I don't buy that at all. And even if they were to go out, you could still play. Dwayne Wade was out till 5 a.m. partying in the NBA Finals and dropped 30+. It's
Michael
fine.
Jordan was at the casino to 6 a.m. He still went out and dropped.
It doesn't. We're talking one game. You're fine. But it's that David Long move. I know that he wasn't playing very well. Is just still interesting to me. They really haven't talked about it. I know that he was upset that Anthony Walker replaced him and he was essentially benched. But to cut a captain midseason, and I mean, good for him. He ended up with the Lions, and now he looks like, he's on an inside track to winning the division, let alone a playoff spot. But, yeah, I mean, we're sitting here, we're shaking our heads, like looking for answers. Just like, what is this team thinking? And the Shaq Barrett thing's really interesting to me too.
I was going to bring that up. It kind
Barrett.
of, like, if you listen to what Miami said, it's like, well, this caught us off guard. We didn't know this was going to happen. Then you hear what Drew Rosenhaus said with you, everything. It's like, we told them on Monday. I don't know why they were caught off guard. It either, one of the two, and I don't think it's true, is not telling the truth, and it kind of exposes the dysfunction in Miami.
Right. And I mean, yeah, when you have the disconnect from the head coach, the GM, whatever, maybe he didn't tell Mike McDaniel because
maybe he didn't. Yeah.
Because Chris, you could look at it, argue and say, look, Chris, like, I'm not bringing this guy back. He effed us by retiring on the eve of training camp. Like, I don't want to give this guy an opportunity because he, if I would have known that, I would have signed Andrew Van Ginkel and we would have been, in a good scenario. So there could be a vendetta there. I don't know yet. But I mean, at this point in the season, whatever, like, you need a pass rusher. This guy could potentially help you. So to not look at him out of spite and then to not let him go play for another team, like, some facts are missing. I can't rationalize, if you're a winning football team, why you wouldn't want that. So maybe it's a cultural thing. I don't know. But if the end result's about winning football games, this guy's won a Super Bowl. This guy's a very well-liked person in the league. I understand he wronged you, but here's a chance to make it right. You're out paying him the money anyway. So, let him. Why not?
Here's the deal.
What's the downside?
If you're Chris Grier, even if you don't want him back, that's a whole other conversation. That's a football decision. Why don't you give your head coach, he's got a press conference and Mike been asked about this. He knows it's out there in the world. These all guys say, I don't monitor social media. They all monitor social media. They know what's out there. They know exactly what's out there. To not give your head coach a heads up, who is going to actually field questions in the next hour or two, to me, it's like, why wouldn't you do that? That to me is the part that's really, it's like, oh boy. I mean, it's just another thing that, like, that's not normal. We've normalized stuff in Miami that, like, other organizations, which you've been around some, like, that would never happen. But in Miami, it's like, oh, it just happens in Miami. We just turn a blind eye to it. But then you look why you haven't won anything in 20 plus years. Well, because that's not normal. I mean,
shoot, look at Houston today with Azeez Al-Shakir. I mean, regardless of how you feel about it, that GM stood up and just said, he's our guy. We protect him. We believe in him. Like, they just proved that he had his back. And
it's a consistent message from top down from the organization, which we haven't seen in Miami, even heading back to the whole Watson story, this story. Like, it's never a consistent message. Everyone's out there pushing their own agendas.
Yeah. So, well, they got to figure out how to get on the same page this week against the Jets. Because if you lose to this struggling New York team, I mean, it basically squashes your playoff hopes, but also just what a waste of a year if that's the case.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, here's the deal with this Jets game. Again, Cam Smith, like we said, is out. Kendall Fuller should be back. There's no Sauce Gardner for the Jets either. He's already been said he's not going to play. Tyler Huntley's the new number 2 quarterback of Miami. So Skylar Thompson, has most likely played his final game as a member of the Dolphins. Chubb, they're opening a practice window. Does that mean he comes back this week? Who the heck knows? It's been so quiet on that front. Nobody knows. But I think that, once again, the key is, how's Anthony Walker doing? Because if Anthony Walker ain't healthy and if he's not playing, the Jets are just going to run the ball right down our throats. And I think they got a good chance to win. As much as everyone likes to crap on the Jets, mock the Jets, and there's a lot of reasons to do so. They've been worse than us this year. They've been in a lot of games. And just like this past week versus Seattle, could have won, had the lead, didn't win. You don't think if that's that type of game this week with no Anthony Walker, because we don't have anyone who can tackle if he's not out there apparently, and this offense, which at times scores a lot of points, but can also, get stuck in the mud like we saw in the first half a little.
Sure.
They could lose this game. Aaron Rodgers probably got one good game left in him. So.
Yeah, and I mean, you want to talk about coming down to Miami, like, this is an opportunity for them. Breece Hall's coming off a terrible game. He was awful.
He's had a terrible year on my fantasy team.
Yeah. So you've got Devontae down here who loves playing on this field. You've got Aaron Rodgers who rarely plays down here. But this is an opportunity. It's kind of like a get-right game for them. I feel like they're motivated. I feel like they're very together. And the Dolphins, this is one of those things, like, you can practice all week however you want, but you got to actually execute on Sunday. And right now, I don't have faith in the sense that this can actually happen. I need it proven to me. It's just like one step forward, two step back. But again, this is a sub 500 team. These are teams that normally the Dolphins dismantle. So I think that they should take care of business here. But again, I mean, shoot, you look at, I hate to say it, but your two safeties, Jordan Poyer has struggled. Javon Holland has struggled. I think they're ranked like in the 60s together. You've got to get better play out of him on the back end. Jalen Ramsey has been phenomenal. Zach Sealer's been good. Calais Campbell's been a nice surprise. But outside of that, Chop Robinson had a couple of games where he flashed. But
he's ascending. Yeah, he's ascending.
I mean, that's about it right now. And you've got Tyreek's down, Waddle's down, Jonnu Smith looks great, but Achane, okay, Raheem Mostert's disappeared. It's just kind of like what works so well that isn't working now, and why haven't the Dolphins come up with a counter that you brought up? And I don't think that answer can wait until the offseason. You got to solve that Saturday night going into Sunday.
Jonnu Smith has been great, but he's playing like our first option. That's not what we paid Hill and Waddle to have Jonnu Smith as our first option. It's nice that when they're covered, you can go to him. Absolutely. Yeah. But that's not what you want. That's not ideal. That's not what we're paying all this money for. That's one aspect of the offense. And of course, I think Achane has stepped up this year I hope he gets to go to the Pro Bowl. I know it doesn't mean anything really, but he really earned it. I think he's really shown himself to be a very good running back out of the backfield, especially making plays in the passing game. He's been good, but overall this offense, it's good. No one's saying it's not good. It's still putting up points, especially since he's come back to but like in the first half of that game, when the Packers are pulling away and it's 7-3, 14-3, whatever it was, and we're pulling 21-3, 20. It's like, it would have been nice for the offense to put together a drive, stop the bleeding, and sort of keep this game competitive at some point. And that's where it's like that. Why it was like that game in the second half. Yeah, they played okay in the second half. They were great in the second half. But the game was over by halftime, though, because the offense couldn't put together a drive to get some points to keep the score a little bit closer. And it's like a tale of two halves. And the first half mattered so much, and that's where the offense let them down.
Yeah, but I mean, look, when this team starts fast, they win ball games. But when they have to play from behind with this methodical,
they can't.
They can't win.
Running team. Yeah,
exactly. So if you know that going in, like, hit them in the mouth.
Hit them in the mouth.
And you want to say Jordan Brooks, the linebacker, said that their play was soft. All right.
I was going to ask about that.
I think it's been the rhetoric. I mean, the best example that I can maybe give is the people that watch Sunday Night Football. Like, the Bills and 49ers, you saw players running downhill and thumping. And where was that from the Dolphins? And I understand that, look, I lived in Green Bay. It sucks. That weather is brutal. It is bone chilling. And luckily, it was one of the warmer days. Yeah.
we got 9 inches of snow this week.
Yeah, that field's a velodrome for wind. I mean, it just, put your Vaseline on the arms, cut the wind, wear, whatever thermal gear.
Stuff,
I read something that was like 3,500 pounds of snow gear that they brought. People brought wetsuits to potentially wear underneath. Like, you could get warm. Like, you should get up for this game. Like, that's the thing. Like, how do you not get up for this game? To play at Lambeau, one of the most historic venues, Thanksgiving night, and you come out flat. It's just I can't rationalize the play. And I think that's the hardest part for fans, because they see everybody on paper, they see the things that work, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work.
Well, I think there's a couple things. Number one, the other thing they need to stop doing, which I know they're asked questions, but there's got to be a better way to answer it. In the lead up to these games, whether it's week 2 versus the Bills, because they never beat the Bills, and then this week, we're going to kill narratives. We're going to go out there and kill narratives. Stop. They got to answer the question better. Let your play kill the narrative. Don't talk about it so much. Number one. Number two is, I know the fumble early in the game did change the whole game, but it's like, where's the leadership on this team? I know they got leaders. Ramsey's a leader. Campbell's a leader. Tua's a leader. Like, they need to step up and in these games, and it's just, I don't know. I think the roster is clearly flawed, and I think that's probably the main issue. But if they lost that game 24-21, last second field goal, kind of like they did versus the Bills, you can say, okay, they lost still.
Sure.
But man, they were in it. They went to the end. They surprised, they're closer. We're there. We didn't get embarrassed on TV versus a good team. And this was everything we've seen versus the Ravens last year, the final game last year versus the Bills, the playoff game versus the Chiefs. It's just, the team's never ready. I made a joke. You can set your calendar now in late November to watch on TV Frosty the Snowman, Santa Claus is coming to town, and the Dolphins losing a big game late in the year. I mean, you can just set it because it's every year. This just happens. And we've had other coaches like Adam Gase, Flores. They might not have had a lot of success, but they beat teams that were good, and they won games late in the year. That one year with Flores, at the end of the year with 7 straight wins. They won a couple big. I mean, I know the schedule that year wasn't great, but they've won, quote unquote, big games versus good teams late in the year. This team doesn't with him as the head coach. And I think it's a mentality that
could be.
It's
I wish it were
colder.
Bring the shirts back.
Exactly. Like, the talk is cheap. No one wants to hear it no more. I think part of it is, fans hear the word soft and they think, oh, that guy's he's a soft. It's not that the players are necessarily soft. I think it's a mentality in that I don't want to say they don't practice hard enough stuff because that's not fair. One, I'm not there, and two, I'm sure they do practice hard. And something's got to change in the mindset of stuff. And what Vic Fangio said when he left, looking real true right now. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, and I mean, you could even go back to Brian Flores. I mean, you've got guys like Xavier Howard, Landon Roberts is another player, that just said he brought that culture. Andrew Van Ginkel would be another one, where that was that tough mentality so that you're ready. I mean, look at Mike Tomlin and what he's doing with the Steelers. I mean, that's kind of what you want. Luckily, this team will have an opportunity to go to Cleveland. Don't know if it's going to be a snow game or what the weather will be like, but there's a chance to win one, and you should. I mean, Jameis Winston is so Jekyll and Hyde when he plays. I mean, 2 pick sixes on the Monday night game this past week. That's a game you should win, and certainly you hope that the Dolphins are still in it after this Jets game to go down there and do that in a couple weeks. But to me, I'm just so sick of hearing excuses, and it's almost like I feel like we're sitting here on Sunday. It's 1:00. And for the people not going to the game, it's just like, all right, we're waiting for the Dolphins' first mistake, and then we're going to click this thing off. And then all of a sudden the Jets are going to win. And we're just like, all right, that's it. Like, that's how I feel people feel right now. And the players, like, I'll be honest, like, they feel it too. Like, they're human. They're feeling just like everybody else.
Yeah. And, I know there's people in the chat here asking, who's getting fired. Folks, I don't think anyone's getting fired. That's the thing. I know fans, fans, they're fans. They want everyone to get fired.
Crossman's got to go. He's got to go.
Crossman absolutely should go. You can make a case for the general manager. The problem is I just don't think it's happening, so I don't want to waste time talking about it. Because it's not happening. And if you're not going to fire him, I don't think you're firing the head coach because this general manager is on his 3rd head coach during his time as a GM. And are you going to give him a 4th one? I mean, I think, once again, I think Grier, McDaniel, and Tua are tied at the hip. I think when they decide to move on, they're all going to go. I don't think you're going to piecemeal at this time. I also think that's probably going to be a time where Ross hands the team down to his daughter, or it's up for sale. And I don't think he's going to be around for the next iteration of whatever the front office head coach thing is. So I think we're here with Grier, McDaniel, and Tua for another year or two, probably 2025, 2026. Then, I know fans don't want to hear that. Trust me, I get it too. I ain't getting any younger. I want to see this team win. And I don't have a lot of faith in how they're going to put together this team because I know fans go, just go out there and get a nasty guard. Well, no, they're not going to do that because their philosophy is that's not where they spend their money.
Yeah. But, I mean, you spent a 2nd-round pick on the tackle, and, I mean, he's got great size. But, again, Tua's even come out and said, I can't see over these tackles, so I have to throw the ball over the middle. And defenses know how to stop them because they've taken the middle away. And
so you're saying the biggest tackle known to mankind and Patrick Paul, like a mountain of a man.
And I mean, Tua can't see. And we know that the hardest throw in the NFL to make is that 17-yard out route. And as the weather gets colder and wind swirls, you want to talk about arm strength. Tua's got arm strength, but he doesn't have that throw. We haven't seen it. And also, I was talking to Darius Butler. If anyone watches Pat McAfee, he's from down here in South Florida. He's like, as a defensive back, I know that you're not throwing that, so I'm going the other way. I want you to throw that. If you can have that, great. So now they're baiting you even more to throw to them in the middle, in which we've seen Tua do. So Yeah, it's just we're waiting for that counter-strike and something different. This is the Mike McDaniel magic that we saw early. And now it's just like everyone's figured him out, and where's the counterpunch? And I don't know if we're going to get it.
No, I mean, why would you think you would? I mean, it's been over 2.5 years. This guy's our head coach. Think he's going to change overnight? I mean, it took him 2.5 years to change the offense just for the backup quarterback. And everyone's begging for run the ball more, do this. It's like we had a bag, and it's like it took him 2.5 years to something, most head coaches would be able to do on the fly. Last question, because I know this is going to be a hot topic, is, we're getting close to the offseason now. And the one name, Miami locked up a lot of the big names last year, and they paid them. I'm sure they're going to restructure a bunch of them to get more cap space this offseason, so they're not probably going anywhere. Jevon Holland's the name. Hadn't had his best season. Still a great player, but hadn't had a great season. I don't know if that's on him or what's around him, honestly. Chris Grier only likes to pay the premium position. Safety's not a premium position. What do you think they do with Holland? If you had a guess, I know it's early. If you had a guess today.
History would tell us that they'd let him walk. However, I think that Holland's going to sign a team-friendly deal to stay, simply because I know that he loves living in South Florida, and I think that he would take a team discount to stay here, especially knowing that he isn't having a great year. If you just want to look at the numbers, though, remember last year he had the weird double knee injury in that
Black Friday versus the Jets, yeah.
Right, and then he missed the rest of the season. So I wouldn't say that he's not durable, but he's definitely not playing 16 games. That position at the top end, the Minka Fitzpatricks of the world, Buda Baker, I think they're commanding around $20 million a season. I mean, I think I could see him signing, I would say, like a 4 for $55, because he's a young player. He's young. He came out.
You can look
early.
at the Antoine Winfield deal last year and want close to that. He won't top
but he's
it,
not,
I don't
but
think.
the Dolphins aren't going to pay that.
I agree.
And
that's why I think it's so fascinating what they're going to do, because I know what he's going to want.
Yeah, he's going to have to stay. I don't want to pay state tax. I want to live in Florida. He's got his girlfriend down here. The man loves to golf. He's very comfortable living here. So from a personal standpoint, he's inclined to stay to take less money. However, I mean, it's just like, I'm not a player, but like, are you really going to take $10 million more over 4 years? So $2.5 million to go to, I don't know, I'm throwing out a random team here, Carolina, Seattle. I mean, outside of South Florida, where would you really want to live? I think that there's the training facility here is unbelievable. I mean, I've seen a lot of training facilities, and they're updating them, but I mean, they're
voted number one for a reason.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. I mean, Poyer's obviously going to be gone. There's no reason.
Well, that's the question, because he's going to be gone. Poyer, you just cut. Patrick Morris, 6th-round pick who hasn't played all year, might play a little now. You can't bank on him going in next year because you don't know what the heck you got. If you don't re-sign Holland, you got to add at least 2, maybe 3 safeties in the offseason on top of all your other needs that you're going to have to add. You're just making another hole, but it's going to be expensive one to keep him, and it's a premium position. The whole thing with Grier in there. That's why it's going to be fascinating to see what they do with him this offseason, and we're going to know by early March. I mean, look, it's already December. We're going to
look at Brandon Jones. I mean, they let Brandon Jones walk. I mean, it's the same. I would say that Jevon Holland would be a step up from Brandon Jones, especially given his
in the passing game too. Yes,
yeah. So he would have to come back on a very, very team-friendly deal and take a lot less money. I mean, but just watching Marcus May, play for the Chargers and another interception, it's just like, here's another Dolphins player that's just doing great elsewhere. And Cam Kinchins, the other safety from the University of Miami, had an opportunity to get him. He's balling for the Rams. I mean, there was another guy you could have picked up 3rd round, and I forget who'd we take 3rd round. It was Patrick Paul in the 2nd. Did we have a 3rd round pick this year?
God, who did we take? Yeah. Oh no. Do we have it? Hold on. Now
was that? Oh no, we traded it to get the running back Jaylen Wright in the 4th round. I want to say, is that right?
No, that was next year's pick. I'm gonna have it right here because now I'm drawing a blank.
We took much stuff.
We did not have a 3rd round pick, so we went Chop Robinson, Patrick Paul, rounds 1 and 2. Then we didn't have a pick till round 5. We traded next year's 3rd for Wright. So we did not have a pick in round 3.
Yeah. Seeing, just looking in the chat real fast, Isaiah Wynn, we're going to find out tomorrow. Coach McDaniel's going to say it's day to day, and we're going to wait till see how he comes out of practice, and it's going to be the same situation for Bradley Chubb both Wednesday and Thursday. But Wednesdays, for everyone watching, it's basically a walkthrough. They don't put on pads at all on Wednesdays. Thursday is the actual, all right, we're going to hit you a little bit. So we won't really know anything as far as Sunday's game until Friday is the timeline on that. But yeah, just a lot of questions to be answered. And it's, yeah.
Yeah. You look at some of the guys.
Frustrated.
Someone brings up the name Chris Brooks. Chris Brooks,
Again, yeah.
Why did you let him go over Jeff Wilson if you're not going to play Jeff Wilson? Well, one guy's a little bit older, one guy's a little bit younger, one guy might have a future here, one guy might not. Like, there's so I know every fan can second guess their general manager, but it seems like in Miami, is a lot more to second guess.
So with Chris Brooks specifically, he's basically the injury was one, but it was more that he runs in between the tackles, and Chris Brooks is not a catch the ball out of the backfield type of player, and in this outside zone offense, which you can't really do in cold weather, especially when the footing is awful, you need that downhill thumping back. And Chris Brooks was that. And I think that's why he provided so much value on this roster. And essentially, Jeff Wilson has become, the insurance policy, if you will, for Jaylen Wright, or in case Raheem Mostert got hurt, because he can do the same things that Achane can do. He's a little bit bigger than Mostert. He's a little bit bigger than Achane. He would be your thumper, but yeah, Chris Brooks.
They don't want thumpers.
That you need. They don't want that.
Just like they don't want tall wide receivers. They just want fast guys. They don't care how tall you are. They just want you to be fast.
Look at Denver. I mean, all of their receivers are 6'3" and above. And as a corner, how many corners are 6'3" and above? They're just not. Like, you have a distinct advantage depending on how you want to build your team. And yeah, it's basically you tried this. It didn't work. Granted, injuries last year completely derailed the season. And obviously Tua's going down this year, but those 4 games really hurt. But just more frustrating that you lost all of those games that you could have won. And then in games that you should be in, I mean, you're just not competitive. And same old Dolphin show. It's the revolving door you want to believe. And it's just, you second guess yourself on every turn. It's been a crummy year. It's been a really,
it really did start with week 1 with the whole arrest before the game. It's like, who'd have thought from that moment, when does that ever happen? It never happens. Craziness prior to week 1 game. That's the only good game Tyreek Hill played this year. It was the only great game he had all year. Was that game?
But I mean, if you look at it, it was against the Jaguars, who've already been eliminated from the playoffs. Exactly. So, I mean, the Jaguars were supposed to be competitive in the AFC South. I mean, and they were right there at the playoffs before they lost at the end of the year. And they were expecting them to take a step, complete regression. Houston's been up and down depending on their injuries. Stephon Diggs is a huge loss. We'll see them in a couple weeks. Nico Collins is a really surprise player. He's been special. Mixon has been special. But Azeez would not be in this game if his appeal doesn't go through. So that's,
he's missing at least 1. I don't know if he'll miss 3, but 1 for sure.
3 seems egregious.
1 for sure, though, I think.
Definitely.
So we won't play against Miami. But, I can't wait to after the season, whenever that is, when Chris Grier always meets with the media after the season. I would bet $100 the first 3 questions he's going to get are about Odell Beckham Jr., about Isaiah Wynn, and Shaq Barrett. Because 1, did you sign OBJ hurt, and why did you do that? And you had so many other options. 2, the whole thing with Shaq Barrett, everyone knows what's going on there. And the same thing with Wynn. Why did you sign a guy who was hurt who's going to miss the whole year? Like, I'm dying to hear his answers for this, and I know he's media savvy. He'll tap dance around and stuff. But man,
OBJ was on like an incentive-laden deal, so they really didn't give him any money. And Odell loves being in Miami. It's the same reason that they signed Jordan Poyer, because he took the minimum. So Odell, they're not really paying anything.
Yeah, but they could have used him. That's the point. And they got nothing from him.
No, I mean, you knew that he had an offseason knee injury. You knew everything about him. You had Anthony Weaver, who was with the Ravens last year. I know I was on the defensive side of the ball. The Shaq Barrett thing's kind of interesting to me. Just,
Because he used the Jets against Miami to get more money out of Miami, which is fine. That's every player's
That's
right
great.
to do. But then
Yeah,
if you're going to
that's easy to
retire on even training camp, it's like, which is why I don't totally understand why they don't want him back. It's like you used us to get as much money from us as you could, which is you're right. That's fine. But then you quit on, and he went through the OTAs. He went through the mini camp. And I understand everything that happened in his life. It's horrible. I get it. It's all understandable. But from the business side of this, why did you go through all that just to quit at the eve of training camp? You didn't know your heart wasn't in it back in March when you're asking for all this money? It's like, I get it, but it's like, did they not,
you can't fault the player, but then it's like, and then Isaiah Wynn, you knew, like,
he got hurt on your watch. You didn't know.
Yeah, that, and I mean Lester Cotton, like these guys, like you knew that you had no depth. I mean, Liam Eichenberg, Robert Jones are just, they're not good enough guards. They just aren't. This team needs 2 guards. I mean, Robert Hunt was great, priced out, $20 million a season. Like,
well, here's the deal. Next year, they're going to need 2 guards plus some depth guards. They're going to need a swing tackle after you move on from Lamb and Armstead, because Lamb's already talked retirement. Armstead, he had a horrible game for his Packers. I don't think he's coming back. So you move Patrick Paul to a start. So you got to have a swing tackle, 2 guards. You're going to need a 3rd wide receiver that you can trust. Then on the other side of the ball, you're going to need a couple safeties, even if you sign Holland. You get linebackers. I don't know who's coming back, honestly. And you got to replace Calais Campbell and find yourself a nose tackle. And right now you're $12 million over. I know they can make money and restructure. I get it.
Yeah.
4th worst salary cap space in the league heading into next year on projections, which again, I know that you can.
Yeah, they can circumvent that. But I mean,
but still, the point is you got a lot of holes.
Yeah.
And if fans think 2025, this was, this year was whatever, we're going to be, no, because you're going to have a lot of new pieces next year, mostly young ones with 10 draft picks. So next year is going to be getting your feet wet more with a lot of kids in some of these key spots. It's going to be a crazy offseason for the Dolphins because they have so many holes to fill, and they cannot be the oldest team in the league again.
Yeah, it's and you need a running back. I think you move on from Mostert. I think you move on from Wilson. So you've got Wright and Achane. You're going to need to find a 3rd. And most importantly, you need a freaking backup quarterback.
Well, yes, that's the other thing where you have to pay real money to a backup quarterback like a Minshew or whoever, someone who can actually play. So that's going to eat up a chunk of whatever money you open up on top of all these other holes. And I think the heavy lifting is really on the defense because that side of the ball at times looks really
be better.
Slow. And they like in the secondary probably need a corner. I think Kendall Fuller makes 8.5 next year. They ain't paying. He ain't no $8.5 million corner. They ain't paying him that. They have so many holes heading into next year. When you start to look at it now, as most fans are thinking, I don't know if we're going to make the playoffs. You start to think, oh my God, the amount of heavy lifting this front office has to do in reshaping this team. It's going to be a lot, but we're going to be talking about it here as we head forward week after week. Josh, thanks so much for a few moments of your time. Everyone, be sure to watch Josh Moser on WSVN 7 at the Mose Knows on Twitter, social media, Instagram, everywhere, wherever you are. He's at the Mose Knows. And be sure to check out the website, DolphinsTalk.com. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, subscribe, follow. Wednesday night, we're going to have a show. Special co-host. Check out who I'm going to be with Wednesday night. Trust me, you're going to want to tune in and see. Trust me, you're going to want to tune in and see. Trust me, you're going to want to tune in and see. Wednesday night about 7:45. I'm going to say it again, folks. Trust me, you're going to want to tune in to see who I got. Everyone, have a great evening. We'll talk to you again after a while. Take care.